Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Big Five Podcast, episode number 68. I'm the co-host, Jake Copestick, filling in once again for Kyle Morello, who, he's still on vacation. I wish I could be him, still in California. He's still doing his thing out west, so I'm in his chair filling in once again. And a guy who might wildly pip Kyle if he's going to continue to stay on vacation out there in California. We have Aaron Bracy from Big5Hoops.com back once again. You might have heard him Tuesday night at the Flyers game. He is joining us once again. Aaron, how are you? Thank you for filling in once again.
Hey, Jake, great to talk to you again. And speaking of Wally Pipp, Kyle is out there in California. I saw he posted on Twitter/X. He's at Dodger Stadium, and he knocked it off on his ballpark list. But does that actually count if you go to a ballpark and there's no game?
Hmm. I'm gonna say no. I don't think I've ever toured a place where I could say so, but I'm gonna say no. Maybe it counts as half.
And you're talking to someone who has visited roughly 60 ballparks. So I'm a big ballpark traveler, like Kyle must be. And I don't know. I don't think I could count that one though. It has to be a game.
Okay. I'm gonna take your word for it then, since you seem to be more seasoned than me for sure. So sorry about that, Kyle. You're gonna have to fly back out there in the fall. He's not gonna be able to do that in October, November because the Mets are not gonna be playing. Then they will be far eliminated from the playoff picture by
There's
the
some
time he can
shade.
maybe get out there again. I have to every time. I have to bust his balls about that every.
There we go.
Um, but regardless, let's get to some basketball. No Copes quick hitters this week. Just a lot of basketball to talk about. We have Martin Luther King Day games coming up, a loaded weekend, a game tomorrow on Friday. And Aaron, I wish we could talk positive. I wish we could have a little bit of fun here, but it just was not a fun night in the Big Late. 0-3, LaSalle, Temple, St. Joseph's, all falling in their games last night. I don't really, it's kind of hard to pick a place to start here. I'm going to start with St. Joseph's. I feel like that is the toughest one. Uh, really, really hard one to swallow here. On the road at St. Louis against another winless team in the Atlantic 10. St. Louis, a lot going on there. There was a burner scandal involving Travis Ford's son, where he was creating burner Twitter accounts to defend his father, who, last couple of years has struggled there since making the tournament in 2019. This was a game that St. Joe's had to win. Hard to win on the road. They've never won in Chaffetz Arena, and that remained the same. They blew a 20-point lead in this game. They gave up 55 points in the second half. A disaster of a final 20 minutes. And really, St. Louis started to chip away at the end of the first half. But this St. Joe's dominated the first 10, 15 minutes of this game. They got every 50-50 ball. They were making shots. Priesty Sindoko comes down for their first basket of the game, nails a three. He had 2 3-pointers in the first half, was 3 for 3 from the field. Eric Reynolds had a good game. Lynn Greer stuffed the stat sheet. Still not enough. They fall to St. Louis 88-85. They're now 0-2 in Atlantic 10 play. Aaron, your thoughts on this? This is a team that was 10-3 going in to the Atlantic 10 play. They're now 0-2. A lot of people thought this was a team that maybe was a top 3, maybe the team to challenge Dayton to win this conference. Really, really poor performance last night. Your thoughts?
So first of all, and I just want to, with a caveat, say that I'm speaking off of box scores, as you said, Flyers. So I covered the Flyers Monday and Wednesday night. So I did not see any of the game, but I was following the game from the Flyers and did study the box score. So I do want to say that off the top. But yeah, St. Joe's was a 4.5-point favorite on the road, and a game that you would think they were going to win. And just to start 0-2 in Atlantic 10 play, I think the biggest thing is I think it really saps some of that energy and excitement that was surrounding the program with that really good non-conference schedule. They entered the Atlantic 10 in their final non-conference game. They played Loyola at home. Now, Loyola is not a good team. I think we mentioned that last time on the podcast. But there was just, they scored like 97 points. Jameer was there. There's just a lot of energy and excitement around the program. And then just to come out with a dud in their first game at Rhode Island, and then to follow it up to give up 55 points in the second half. I don't care if you're playing, any team, St. Monica CYO or the Chicago Bulls, if you give up 55 points in the second half, that's, you can't win that way and you can't play that way. I mean, you you can't feasibly expect to be a good basketball team when you give up 55 points in a half, particularly the second half, really any half. Um, so, but having said that, Jake, I think realistically, all along, St. Joe's pathway to the NCAA tournament was to win the Atlantic 10 tournament title. I think that's still in front of them. I think this team is what it is from the moment that I saw them and from talking to people that I respect, people on benches of Division One teams. This is a team that's built on offense, and if they can shoot well like they have on many nights and play well and just outscore you, they can beat pretty much anybody. And I'm talking about almost anybody. Take out maybe top 5 teams in the country, although we're seeing that those top 5 teams in the country are all beatable this year. But they don't defend. They don't defend consistently. And when you don't defend consistently, and when your shot's not falling, you're liable to lose to anybody. So, and I think that's what St. Joe's is right now. And I think it's a matter of them getting hot at the right time, building confidence up, beginning with Saturday against Loyola of Chicago, and then Monday against La Salle, and then going from there. So, yeah, terrible start, but I still think really their goals are still in front of them. But they have some work to do to get back on track here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a good point about that, the Atlantic 10 tournament was really their ticket if they wanted to be a tournament team. That was really their ticket there anyway. We mentioned last week how, well, with the loss to Rhode Island, if the at-large chances weren't dead, they were certainly hanging on, they were clinging on for dear life. And now I would say they're certainly done. And the only way they can get to the tournament is having to go to Brooklyn. And I think now, obviously, yeah, you're 100% right. They would have to win the tournament, but I think also the goal is let's not try and do what we've done, the last few years and have to win 4 games in 4 days if we want the automatic bid. Let's maybe try and get a double bye and get into those top couple seeds, and not do that because that's almost an impossible task. To have to go to Brooklyn. And for La Salle last year, they won 2 games and then they had to play Fordham 3 games in 3 days, and it was basically a home game for Fordham. You don't want to run into situation like that. You bring up the defense, and this has been a problem under Billy Lang, and last year was certainly the same problem as well, defending consistently and defending the 3-point line. I mean, Gibson Jimerson, who there's one thing you can't do. You have to run them off the 3-point line. You have to let them put the ball on the floor. They did not do that. They played the zone that they usually play. Whether that's the 3-2 with Fleming at the top, they dropped him down low when they did have their full complement of players and did have Priest in there. They just lost track of him. I mean, Gibson Jimerson had 6 threes in the second half, and he had a personal 9-0 run there to really get them back in and get St. Louis, the lead in this game. So, yeah, disappointing to see, not only defending consistently, but just the consistency all around, because then it was the second half. St. Louis was getting those 50-50 balls. They were getting on the floor. I mean, Travis Ford was livid at his team when they were down 20 because they couldn't get a rebound. Every loose ball was St. Joe's. They were getting second, third opportunities. It just wasn't the case in the second half. I mean, it was like the game got completely flipped on its head. And this St. Louis team that looked like they were staring down the barrel of potentially an 0-3 start in the Atlantic 10, like suddenly has a very, very good come from behind win on the resume. Now you have St. Joe's that's still searching for their first win. So, yeah, definitely really disappointing. And, yeah, another point I wanted to bring up that you had in the beginning was that it's really deflated. These 2 games where they've had double-digit leads in the second half, and they've blown them on the road. And, look, again, another point you bring up, look at all the ranked teams that have lost. It's hard to win on the road in college basketball, especially once you get into conference play and you get to, these next couple of weeks as every loss, every game is kind of life and death as far as the tournament bid goes. So really deflating loss here. Now it kind of feels like this has been same old St. Joe's. Just when you thought they were kind of breaking through here, now Billy Lang's hitting stride, getting his guys in the program. They're kind of crashing down to, the 4 seasons he had, unfortunately for St. Joe's. So 2 more games I want to get to that happened last night. First, I want to touch on was a game I did not watch La Salle. I had St. Joe's and Temple. I had some double screen action going on. I got to get more screens in my house. I feel like I have my laptop, my TV going. It's never enough. Like I need more screens in the house. But did tune into East Carolina at Temple yesterday. Temple losing this one at home. Thought this was a game that could have been close, that they could have potentially pulled out. But they are now 1-1 in conference play. 73-62 loss to the Pirates. Close first half. A team in East Carolina that's not really known for its shooting got hot a little bit in the second half, went on a run, was up double digits, and really never let this thing get inside of two possessions. So Temple now, or excuse me, they're 1-2 in conference play. I thought this was a winnable game for them. This is a team they swept last year. Now they are a little bit improved for sure in Temple with a lot of turnaround here, but I thought this was a game they could have won. Hysier Miller had a rough shooting game. Steve Settle had a rough shooting game. Aaron, last time we talked, Steve Settle was almost at 20 points and 6 steals, and he only made 2 shots last night. The team just went cold. East Carolina got hot. That's what you can't do. They couldn't stop R.J. Felton, who knocked down a couple long-range shots, made it happen from the elbow a little bit. Just was not this just felt like it wasn't Temple's night. 7 of 27 from the 3-point line. 0 for 4 from Sam Hoffman, who can usually knock down some threes for them. 6 points for Hysier Miller, 1 for 8 last night. And, they have some guys that can shoot the ball. Jaleel White, 13 and 7 off the bench in his second game back from an injury. But when your captain, who plays a lot of minutes and was in a bit of foul trouble yesterday, plays like that, unfortunately, it's going to be rough sledding if that's going to be the case sometimes here, because it's apparent that Hysier Miller is the one guy that you have the key on, who's the head of the snake here, that if you can take him out of a game, more likely than not, you're going to be able to score enough points to beat this Temple team. So I think it'll happen for Adam Fisher. I don't think it's going to happen this year, obviously, with having to bring in all these new players. But, they started out 3-0. I was excited about this team, Aaron. And it seems like in a conference in the AAC that's adding some pretty good teams, one we're going to talk about that's pretty good, they're going to be playing on Saturday. This you're looking at maybe like a 10th place or farther down there finish from the Owls. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think kind of echoing what you said. I think basically with Temple, it really is right now. They're rebuilding with. It's going to take some time, and they just don't have guys from the perimeter who can consistently knock down the 3-pointer. Again, you mentioned 7 of 27 last night, and when you cannot rely on the outside shot for scoring, you're already playing behind before the tip even happens. They're doing a great job, I think, of getting the ball inside, getting to the free throw line. I haven't checked the latest numbers, but the numbers I had checked recently, again, they're still a good team in getting to the line, getting inside. But yeah, I mean, they were a 1.5 point home favorite. You'd think they had a good chance to win that game, and just following that game on the play-by-play, you watched it, but it just didn't seem like they were really ever in the game. I mean, it just seemed like they were, I don't know, they were get within 6, get within 7, but they just couldn't close that gap. I guess after halftime, what was it, 33-31 at half? But so yeah, Jordan Riley had 15 points. Just looked like he had a decent game from the box score, but just didn't have the complimentary scorer, and just were not. Temple was not shooting well, which is nothing new for the Owls. So I don't think really to be like, I know Temple fans are disappointed, but I don't think overly so. I think they get it. That it's going to take some time, and it is what it is right now. It's a rebuilding program, and it's going to take Adam Fisher probably 2 or 3 years before he can start recruiting. The good thing is with the portal, you can turn it around rather quickly. I was thinking about the portal as we're talking about all those upsets, and you're seeing really the effect of the portal on college basketball right now with teams there's just a lack of togetherness. There's a lack of continuity on teams. And when you have that lack of togetherness and a lack of continuity, it takes time to build. So by the end of the season, I think we're really going to see the cream rise to the top. But in the meantime, it's just chaos. It's chaos. Everyone's losing to everybody. And is there a team in the country where you could really hang your hat on and say, yeah, that's a team that I could rely on night in and night out? Maybe Kentucky right now, perhaps. although they lost early in the season to UNCW at home. So it's just the nature of the beast right now. Um, and it's sort of the same thing with a team like even like St. Joe's, which they're still trying to come together. But I just want to make a quick point about St. Joe's getting back. The thing that surprised me about them defensively is, they have athletes that you would think would be great defenders. Guys who are athletic, they're long, quick, and I don't know. Like I think I want to watch this weekend, and I may actually bring that up with Billy Lang and just ask about like, hey, do you have some like even if they could bring somebody off the bench, like a Simmons, Sean Simmons type, somebody like that. But they need someone I think who can turn the game around defensively. So and then just switching gears a little bit, touching on LaSalle, like no Anwar Gill again. He missed his second straight game, and LaSalle was close, 32-31 and a half, but then UMass just ran past him in the second half. Again, just looking at the box score, it did not look to me like LaSalle did anything rather poorly. They didn't shoot the ball poorly. They didn't turn the ball over, but they just didn't get enough offensive production across the board to really pull off the win. And again, it's, I think with LaSalle, it's going to be one of those seasons where, they're probably going to surprise some people here and there. But, their biggest hope, I think the biggest hope for LaSalle is for them to play in the postseason in some fashion, some kind of postseason tournament. I think that would be a big accomplishment for the program this year. And I think it's very doable for them.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I definitely want to touch on with Temple. I think Adam Fisher will get there. I like his enthusiasm. I mean, he definitely cares and wants to be there. And I think with the resources he has at his disposal, like I was just talking to a friend of mine at work today, who's a Temple guy. Like if you're a prospective, if you're a prospect, I think Temple's got an awesome campus. Not sure the area might not be great, but if you're actually on campus, like I think you would be wowed by it and you'd want to go to school there. And then if you go to the Liacouras Center, you're like, wow, like we have an arena that's on Broad Street. Like I think there's a lot there. And Adam Fisher's already got a couple recruits coming in next year with Aiden Tobias and Dylan Petit. I think he'll continue to do that. I'm eager to see what he does, bringing in some of his guys as well as the portal that you mentioned. I think another thing, Aaron, to touch on is, not just the portal, but how about you look at a couple upsets from the past couple nights? You have Texas played Cincinnati. Texas, who's ranked 25, squeaks out a win. Houston goes to Iowa State. They lose. You have UCF, Kansas, but it's not only upsets, but it's Purdue, these teams right? That are Purdue as well. You had Tennessee go down to Mississippi State, but a couple of these upsets, that Texas Cincinnati game, that was close. It almost resulted in an upset. You had UCF, Kansas, and then Houston, Iowa State. There are teams that are moving conferences as well that maybe aren't as familiar with these teams as, with Kansas. They see Baylor all the time, TCU, teams that they've played a bunch of times. They might play 3 times in a year at the Big 12 tournament. Right. So going to places that, like Hilton Coliseum is one of the toughest places to play in college basketball. Houston going there for the first time in conference play. I think that's another interesting little caveat as well. And then to touch on LaSalle, that's the problem is not only, and you touched on this last episode, their depth, their scoring as well. Besides Khalil Brantley and Jameer Brickus, who can not only get their teammates open looks, they can also create for themselves very easily. But besides that, they don't really have anybody else that can do that. So, when Khalil Brantley goes 3 for 8, only 7 points last night, Andres Marrero comes off the bench. He's 3 for 10 from 3. When you're not getting that production from elsewhere, results like this can happen. And also, their lack of size as well. They start Ryan Sanders listed at 6'7", and when he has to play against a Josh Cohen who's putting up really good numbers in the Atlantic 10 is 24 and 10. They don't really have the bodies. Besides Rokas, and then Zan, who's been starting a couple games here as an undersized 5-man. When they go up against some bigger guys in this league, they're going to be giving up big performance. And with them, I think like a CBI potentially, I think is definitely in play. Potentially the NIT. You have to just see how conference play goes for them. I think you're right. They're going to surprise people. They're going to be in games with a coach good as Fran Dunphy with 2 guards that have been there. They're going to be in a lot of games here, but I think CBI is certainly attainable for them. this season. And also Frank Martin's group 11-4. Last year it seemed like it was kind of rocky. They got smoked by Richmond in the Atlantic 10 tournament after having a rough conference season. He had some press conferences where it seemed like he was just very hard on those guys, and it seemed like he was almost out of touch. And people were like, has he lost his fastball? Is he, can he still coach this generation? He's answered the bell to everything. Very good season for UMass. They just had Dayton on the ropes the other night as well. So really good season brewing up there in Amherst for the Minutemen. So loaded schedule. I have all the games on my notes here going from not only tomorrow, but even into Martin Luther King Day as well, depending on when I decide to record next. And also, for Martin Luther King Day, La Salle St. Joe's usually play each other. There's a bunch of basketball on that day. So I'm going to run through the schedule real quick. Aaron, I'm going to kick it to you. Feel free to touch on a couple games. So Friday.
I will be, go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about it. I'll be at 3 games this weekend. So
Wow. Doing double duty with the Flyers as well. DePaul at Villanova tomorrow on FS1. Saturday, bunch of games. VCU at La Salle, Loyola Chicago at St. Joseph's that you mentioned earlier. Temple going to North Texas that I want to touch on coming up here. Drexel playing at Elon. Nobody's scheduled for Sunday, but then Monday you've N coming off a bit of a break here. They are at Cornell. Villanova at number 11 Marquette that just got upset by Butler at home last night, snapped a long losing streak for them. And then La Salle St. Joe's, it's kind of been a staple on Martin Luther King Day. Nice they get a nationally televised game. I was at the game last year at La Salle that St. Joe's blew them out, really, and then I was at Hagen Arena later in the season. But I want to get to you, Aaron. Tell us about where you'll be and talk about a couple games here for us.
Yeah, so I'll starting tomorrow night. I'll be at Villanova, DePaul at Villanova. Just a chance for Villanova to bounce back from last Saturday's loss against St. John's. DePaul is DePaul right now, and Villanova beat them 84-48 back in what was it, like December 23rd ish maybe in Chicago. So this is a real good chance for Villanova to bounce back, to get some confidence. It sounds today like Justin Moore maybe back. Jeff Nyberg from the Philadelphia Inquirer was at practice today. Justin Moore had his brace off his knee, which is a great sign for Villanova. He would be a welcome addition back to the lineup. He's been out since December 5th. So just getting him back would be huge. I just think, just bottom line with that is just a chance for Villanova to get back on the winning track after losing to St. John's, get some confidence back heading into that Marquette game. Unfortunately for them, Marquette is going to fall in the rankings. It would not be as impressive of a victory if they beat Marquette on the road. Still would be a quad one victory for Villanova, which I think would up their quad one record to 5-1. And then Saturday I'll be at St. Joe's. They're playing Loyola Chicago. I have not looked closely at Loyola Chicago. I did see they lost Tuesday to somebody. Can't remember who they played. I haven't looked closely at the notes. But yeah, same deal. St. Joe's coming home 0-2 in the A10. Really a chance for them to show their fans like, hey, yeah, you do have something here to get excited about. So that'll be a huge game for St. Joe's, I think. Definitely to go 0-3 and lose their home opener in the A10 would be just really really hurtful, I think, to the program and what they're trying to do this season. You mentioned no games Sunday. And then Monday, I'll be back at St. Joe's for La Salle St. Joe's, which I think is going to be a really great game. I think La Salle, I think that's going to be a tough game for St. Joe's. I don't know why. I just think La Salle is going to give them some trouble because La Salle's strength is St. Joe's strength, and that's guard play. So I think La Salle, while they don't have the explosiveness that St. Joe's has, I think they have players who can match, and they're all, they all know each other too, as with Big Five pod. So those guys all know each other. They know their tendencies, know their strengths, know their weaknesses. So so it should be a fun and exciting weekend. Big5hoops.com will be very busy. And then just to put a capper on it, and then we could talk more about these games. But then Tuesday night, I will have a weekly Big Five Hoops Spaces show from 8 to 9. And, just putting together what I think is going to be a really big show. So definitely would encourage all your listeners, yourself, if you can make it, Tuesday night, January 16th, 8 to 9 p.m. And you can find the link on my Twitter/X handle, Aaron, AARON_Bracy, BRACY. So hope to see all your listeners there as well. But going to be a busy and a fun weekend, Jake. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at you going, so that's what you 5 days of coverage. And if you include Flyers this week or six, you're going all week. They can't keep you out of the gym. How about that? So,
Thankfully, I have a very understanding wife and, and understanding kids. And but it's gonna be a fun weekend of basketball, and yeah, really looking forward to the weekend and seeing what the teams can do, and also I just think playing on Monday and honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, I just think that's such a worthy thing to do and a worthy cause for these teams and for the country as well. So I would just like to say that as well.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I had a professor that would always say, like to honor Dr. King, go do some sort of community service or something like that. Do some sort of good deed that would honor Dr. King and his legacy. Absolutely love that from you, Aaron. And yeah, really good weekend of hoops here as we start to really get in the thick of things in conference play. I want to touch on this LaSalle St. Joe's game. I feel like I can never figure this game out. I can never actually pick like every time. Like last year, I go to the game at Tom Gold Arena, and believe it was the year prior. Yeah, it was the year prior. Actually, Howard last year they actually swept St. Joe's
That
three
makes
nothing.
sense.
They St. Joe's blew a lead at home on Martin Luther King Day on the nationally televised CBS game. They go to Tom Gola Arena, where St. Joe's I think scored 20. I think they were up. Was it 24-12 or 24-16? It was a very, very low scoring game. It ended 49-48.
Oh,
And St. I have to see if I can find the box score that game and send it to you. It was a very low scoring game. St. Joe's blows another lead at Tom Gola Arena. LaSalle beats them by one. Sure enough, they're the 12-13 game in the Atlantic 10 tournament, and LaSalle beat them again in Brooklyn, and they beat them 3-0. So then when it was Brandon Dunphy's first year, they're at home. Last year, I was like, okay, I think LaSalle will win this game. And it felt like they never got out of the locker room for the first 10 minutes. And St. Joe's was knocking down everything. They had open looks. I mean, from the very tip, it was St. Joe's game. LaSalle comes all the way back. It was a 5-point game. There was a steal. Anwar Gill is running up the court, not looking for the ball. Demir Brickish threw it to him. You hear the whole crowd screaming and yelling and going crazy because he's not looking. His head's not up. Ball goes out of bounds. It's a beat a turnover, and then it goes back to St. Joe's, and they ended up pulling that one out. And then when they went to Hagan Arena, St. Joe's, I think, was in a stretch where they won 6 of 9 or 7 of 10, and they were kind of hot. And I said, okay, well, they just beat LaSalle pretty handily last time, sans the last maybe 7 minutes. They're on a bit of a hot streak here. And then LaSalle beat them. So I feel like I can never pick the winner of this game. But then I look at it now, and I'm saying, well, St. Joe's needs it. They're the better team. They're the deeper, more talented team. They can shoot better. So it makes me take St. Joe's. But that being said, hopefully I'm going to be in attendance as well. Still waiting to hear back for a media pass. But that being said, you will probably see a LaSalle win with me saying that about.
well, one thing I don't do, and I learned this early on, is I do not make predictions because one thing about sports is they're unpredictable, and that's why I love them. And I feel like making predictions, then for me anyway, for me personally, it sort of takes some of the enjoyment of the game away because then I'm kind of rooting for my prediction instead of just enjoying the game. And I just my hunch, and this is like not a prediction, but my hunch is that's going to be a tough game for St. Joe's, and I think LaSalle is going to play them tough. I think they're going to be up for that game more than most, and I think for LaSalle in many ways, St. Joe's is kind of like Villanova is to St. Joe's fans. LaSalle really that's like kind of their rival in many ways, and I think. And I think a lot will depend on Anwar Gill's health. I think without Anwar Gill, I don't see LaSalle being able to beat St. Joe's. They don't have the depth as we talked about, repeatedly. But with Anwar back, I think they have a real chance to play St. Joe's tough and maybe even pull out a win. And like having said that, St. Joe's could win by 30.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but yeah, definitely looking forward to it though. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, an inner Big Five game and an inner Big Ten game. Oh no, excuse me, A-10 game. He's looking
And
at
if
me.
you are there on Monday, I'm putting you on a spot on your podcast, but would love to have you join us for our pregame Spaces show live from Hagen Arena. So hopefully you'll be there, and if you can get there early enough, we can do that before the game.
Well, how about I make a deal with you then? If I am in attendance with the media pass, I will be in attendance to your spaces as well. I will keep
Perfect.
you updated on that, and hopefully I can be in attendance there. Before we get going here, Aaron, I want to touch on the Temple North Texas game because I gotta say, um, sneaky good AAC team here. North Texas, of course, one of the newcomers into this conference. First AAC matchup between these two teams. A lot of movement going on here. Of course, their head coach, Grant McCaslin, who led them to a very, very good stretch while he was the head coach of the Mean Green, leaves for Texas Tech. His lead assistant of 6 years, Ross Hodge, was associate head coach, takes over. This Mean Green team a couple years ago, they upset Purdue during the COVID tournament that was held in the state of Indiana. Really good defense is what this program is built on. So Grant McCaslin, this team plays when he was there, and still with Ross Hodge, they play slow. 310th in average possession length on defense, 359th on offense, overall 360. They will grind this game to a halt against a Temple team that wants to get out and run a little bit. The 32nd best defense, according to Ken Palm. They're 54th in defensive turnover percentage. The problem is with this Temple team that might be jacking up some threes, Aaron. The team shoot 29.6% from three on the Mean Green. That's 32nd best nationally. And if you want to get a sense scoring wise, well, they play very slow. How do people score on them? They are allowing 58.9 points per game. That is third nationally in scoring average in the country. They had a couple guys stay. Of course, when coaches leave to go to a bigger school, some follow them. A bunch of guys jump ship. Some guys are able to stay here for Ross Hodge. Jason Edwards, holdover from last year, averages nearly 17 points a game, shoots nearly 40% from three on almost 6 attempts per game, real flamethrower. And he leads a three-point shooting attack that shoots 37.7% from the three-point line as a team. That's 29th in the country. They have some high major transfers coming that are there right now, and C.J. Nolan from Oklahoma, who's the fourth leading scorer on the team, Rondell Walker from TCU, and a big fella in Robert Allen from Ole Miss. And this team is 2-0 in AAC play. They just beat Tulane by double digits without two starters, Reuben Jones and John Buggs. They also have a win over Wichita State. I think this is a very, very tough game. And if you just saw Temple get stifled by East Carolina and Heisler Miller and Steve Settle III have rough games against the Pirates, I think this team's going to even do them. It's going to be even harder to score on the Mean Green and to score on this team. I'm going to take North Texas Mean Green, their first season in the AAC, to get the 3-0 and a big win over Temple, taking their first trip down to Denton in conference play. So, a lot to go over there. I wanted to make sure I got that out fast
Yeah.
before we end here. I'm going to let you go, Aaron, because you have a column you got to get out.
Yep.
Busy guy, been doing the Flyers. He's got a column coming your way, as well as the Spaces. Coming Monday, and so you're going to do Monday and Tuesday then for
So
Spaces.
I do Spaces before every game. I do a pregame show on Spaces. So I'll have one at Villanova tomorrow, St. Joe's Saturday, and St. Joe's Monday, like 15, 20 minutes before the game. And then I will have a column out Friday, which I'm going to write after our recording here. Like I told you before, I'm going to have toothpicks in my eyes. And then Tuesday, I'm going to do like a weekly 1 hour show. So from 8 to 9 p.m. or excuse me, from 8 to 8:30 p.m. I'm going to be talking about some stuff about the weekend, looking ahead, looking back, looking ahead, kind of like we're doing here a little bit. And then from 8:30 to 9, I'm going to have a guest. So I have a what I would consider a pretty big guest that I'm hoping to solidify. I can't quite make the announcement just yet. And I also might have a little something in that first segment from 8 to 8:30, which I can't make the announcement just yet. But sorry to leave it hanging there, Jake. But stay tuned to my social media feeds, and more to come on that. And again, I hope all your listeners can join me Tuesday night from 8 to 9, and definitely follow along on the coverage this weekend on big5hoops.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we stay tuned to that. Thank you for all that, Aaron. Teasing your column, some Spaces coming up and some big time guests. We'll make sure, I don't call it X, I call it Twitter. We'll make sure we stay tuned on that. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another edition of the Big Five Pod. I'm going to let Aaron go get a couple cups of coffee and do his column.
Hey, I
Get
just
some
want to
rest
say,
for a long weekend.
yeah, before I go though, I just want to say you guys are doing just a great job here with what you're doing, and just keep up the great work and the knowledge you're pumping out. And there's a lot of people that really enjoy, um, you know, sports as a diversion from everyday life, and just the Big Five is an important part of the city of Philadelphia, and I think it's so worth preserving the history and connecting the legacy of the past to the future. And so I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And anytime you need me to come on, um, assuming I'm awake, I am happy to come on and pitch in. And I look forward to you guys continuing to grow your podcast. And yeah, I just think it's a great thing you guys are doing. And keep up the great work. And I'll be, whether I'm on or not, I will be following what you guys are doing, listening, and all that. So thank you for what you're doing. I enjoy it, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who do as well.
Well, thank you, Aaron. That was very nice of you. Thank you so much for the kind words. And likewise, anytime we can get you on, we would definitely love to have you back. So, like I said, I'll let you get a couple cups of coffee. You have a column to write. You have a busy weekend of basketball in front of you. I'll let you do your thing. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another edition of the Big Five Podcast. We will see you very soon. If we don't get anything out to you until after Monday, happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. And as my great professor, Rick Rydell at Temple University says, go out and do something that would honor Dr. King. Go out and do a good deed, do some community service, do something that would honor Dr. King in his way. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great rest of your night. Aaron, I hope to see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Well said. Good night, everybody.